I'm so sorry about all the confusion. Apparently, Facebook has completely changed the way that they do live casts now, and it's a lot harder than what it used to be. I don't know why. I don't know why they feel the need to make these changes sometimes, but they do. So, anyway, sorry that I'm late. Sometimes these things happen. A couple of weird things. You remember last week I was telling you about going to see the eclipse and then going up to Boston to get my son Guy, bringing him back, and um, that this week, yesterday, I was going to have two teeth put in from the two that were removed, the two back molars, and as it turns out, I was wrong about that. I did have to go see the dentist, and um, he did do some stuff, but he didn't do any of the crazy things that I thought was going to happen. Basically, all he did was remove the sutures that was kind of holding all this together back here, and checked it, made sure it was okay. Did an X-ray so he could look inside, and I'll have another appointment like that mid October sometime. And then before the end of the year is when he'll actually put the implants in. And then once all that kind of settles down, then I get to have the crowns. So yeah, the fun never starts. But speaking of fun never starting, a couple of things. Now, we talked last week about all the problems that Texas was having with Harvey, and that we talked about the charitable organizations that you could donate to give money to the people that were suffering in the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey. Well, we're getting ready to start this all over again, except this time it's going to be, my old home state, Florida, is getting ready to get hit by Irma, probably sometime this weekend, depending on which way it goes. Now, it's already kind of hit a few of the islands in the Caribbean, and I think as we speak right now, Puerto Rico is getting hit. So, if you would please, again, if you have any time or a little extra money, please look up charitable organizations that not only benefit the United States, but some of the Caribbean islands that are getting hit really, really hard right now as we speak with Hurricane Irma. Now, my brother Larry, who actually, you know what? Let me tell you something here. Now, I did grow up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That was where I was born. I was born on September 9th, 1960, which means that in 3 days, it's going to be my 57th birthday, which isn't the important part. The important part was, as I was born, South Florida was getting hit by a different hurricane, Hurricane Donna. And if you look that up, that was also kind of a nasty storm. I don't remember too much about it because I was so young at the time. Standard joke. I also went through another hurricane in 1964, and in I think it was 1967, and then there wasn't a hurricane that really hit South Florida head on until Andrew in 92. So it was a long time in between big storms that actually hit the South Florida area. And since 1992, there's been a lot of changes. There's been a few more hurricanes that have hit the South Florida area, though this one has the potential to be really, really nasty. If it follows the current storm track, it looks like it could just go right up the middle of the state. Now, I still have family in the Florida area. I have a brother who is in Palm Beach, who's actually tonight loading up a car. He's going to take a little rest before he leaves, but try to get on the road to beat some of the traffic that's heading north. And hopefully he'll be here sometime either tomorrow or Friday with some of the important stuff from the house. papers and documents and some of the tech and things that he wouldn't want either stolen or destroyed if the storm gets really, really bad. So hopefully my brother Larry will be up here. And I also have some family in the Daytona area, and I wish them all the best. And um, they're actually, the homes that they're in are a lot more sturdy, stable, concrete construction, and some of the things that you really uh, make it easier to get through a really, really bad storm like this. So we'll see what happens with Irma, and I'm hoping that everything is just going to kind of work out. And if you can, again, please give generously to the organizations that provide relief and support for the people that are affected by these storms. All right, I'm going to get off my soapbox, and we're going to talk about some other stuff. Found a couple of really, really weird stories to talk about this week, and I've got some stuff from, of course, the Mac to the Future page that we're going to talk about. But who do we have? Wow, this like 5 people. Excellent. Frank Petrie refers to a particular person that's in Facebook as Zuckerberg. Jeff Zudrenton, Simon, I'm so awful with names, Plamodon-Roy. Who else we got? Well, other people that aren't talking, but I appreciate the fact that you've all come here to speak or to watch me speak. If you have anything to say, make sure that you say it so I can see it here in the comments and we can talk about it. But the first thing that I was going to talk about tonight in regards to Apple is that apparently Apple wants their video shaken but not stirred. Bad James Bond joke. And there's a reason why. According to some reports, Apple is currently bidding on the rights to the James Bond franchise, which Sony lost after the 2015 film. There's a lot of hype in this deal, with some saying that this could make or break the iTunes fortune, which of course is complete and utter nonsense. Apple is looking to create their own content, and they're putting a lot of money where their mouth is, though nothing in the same general area of like Netflix or Amazon or HBO or some of these other ones. But they are putting some money into this, and we'll see if that will translate into some good programming. But I really don't think that whether or not they end up winning or outbidding other people for the James Bond franchise is going to make a damn bit of difference as far as whether or not iTunes is going to continue to be successful. So why are people so and I've spoken about this before, and especially in regards to news, and especially in big weather news. There's so much hype that's generated by news stations in general, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that now back in the day, news organizations with the big U.S. networks, CBS, ABC, NBC, their news organizations didn't really make money. It was just part of the cost of doing business. And then you had CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News, and all these other ones come up, and they start broadcasting 24 hours a day. And honestly, there's not really that much interesting happening 24 hours a day. So they were having trouble getting people to watch their stations. So what did they do? They hyped the little bit of existing news that was out there to the point where this is now standard procedure for these companies to get people in a lather, to get people so upset or angry or emotional that they'll tune in again. And I think it's despicable, but obviously, I don't run these companies, but I just find it disturbing, and I really wish they would stop. But speaking of things that I find disturbing that I wish would stop, Apple is currently running afoul of the Indian government telecom agency. The Telecom Regulatory Authority of India has been trying unsuccessfully to get its Do Not Disturb software included in the App Store. This program lets people share spam call and text message logs with this agency, which is part of the Indian government, which uses the data to alert mobile operators to block the spammers. Apple says that the app violates its privacy policy, according to the regulator. They've pushed back on this. A Ram Sewak Sharma, who is chairman of the Delhi-based telecom regulator, says that nobody is asking Apple to violate its privacy policy, in his opinion. It's a ridiculous situation. No company can be allowed to be the guardian of a user's data. However, this guy, Ram Sewak Sharma, feels that the Indian government, or governments in general, can safeguard your data. Are you okay with that? I'm not so okay with that. The regulator is currently seeking public and stakeholder comments on a consultative paper on users' control over their personal information and rules on the flow of data through its telecommunications networks. The process, scheduled to be completed in September, could eventually lead to new rules governing user data. This could also become part of the telecom licensing process, according to Sharma. Any new rules could affect not just Apple, but Facebook, Google, and other technology companies that handle large amounts of private and personal information. A Nandan Nilekani, who ran India's biometric Aadhaar identity program and was recently appointed chairman of Asia's number 2 outsourcer, Infosys, says that data is a strategic asset, and there's realization around the world that public policy has to come to grips with it. So they would like to have their hands in your data. This is really what it comes down to. And the U.S. government, for the most part, is no better. The FBI sued Apple to try to get them to break the encryption on their phones, or to give them a key that would allow them to break the encryption, which would also involve, of course, making changes to iOS that would allow this key to break the system. Because according to Apple, now, we're taking Apple's word on this, the encryption that's built into iOS cannot be broken by the company. But the U.S. government, the FBI, the NSA, some of these other agencies would like nothing more than to be able to take anyone's phone and see every single thing that's on it. That's what they would like to do. The last thing before the break, there's an event coming up on September 12th. So this is next Tuesday, I think. And this is more than likely going to be the reveal for the next iPhone. And it's going to be held at the new Steve Jobs Theater at the all-new Apple campus. This is the first event at the new Apple campus, and it's going to be the reveal for the 10th anniversary iPhone and whatever else that, of course, there'll be iOS 11 will also be introduced at this point, and probably Mac OS High Sierra, maybe a few other things, maybe a new watch, maybe a new Apple TV. And I don't know, do you guys think that there'll be any other hardware release? That would be interesting. I don't know if they're going to do that or not, but we will find out next Tuesday, which is 6 days away. So everyone, I've got a couple things that I'm still going to talk about coming up right after the break, based on stuff from Lizzie Busby Busby, and Marvin Price. So why don't you all just hold on, and as soon as I can find the ad that I was looking for, I found it. We'll be right back.
Everybody, please stand by. And, we'll be right back.
And welcome everyone back to the mymac.com podcast.
All right, so let's carry on. But
I'm still laughing about something that happened just before we started recording, and we're going to talk about that right now.
I don't know if you heard, Guy, but Sal Seguin. Did you know that?
Yeah, I heard that. He's leaving Apple. It's a tragedy for everybody.
Oh dear, this is not going well, is it? We are so childish.
We are.
Really are.
It's the G-Men on the mymac.com podcast. Okay, we are back, and I have a couple things I want to talk about, stuff that I saw on the Facebooks that I thought you guys might find interesting. The first one is from Lizzie Busby, Busby, and she had a quick question that she had a 2011 MacBook Pro with an i7 and 500 gig hard drive. Is it even worth it to upgrade to an SSD? And I'm guessing she wants to extend the life of this machine. And obviously, there is absolutely no reason why she couldn't do so. And one of the best and easiest ways to do so is to get some kind of faster storage into it, add more RAM to it. And yes, the quick answer, Lizzie, is yes. And the long answer is, good God, yes. You can take a base machine like this. Now, you're not going to run Final Cut Pro on it and create the next Hobbit or Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or anything like that. But for everyday use, all the stuff that people typically do with MacBooks, including audio and video and a few other things like that, sure. Putting in an SSD to replace a 500 gig spinny drive will make a huge difference. You will see this machine will boot up so much faster. And the other thing, I'm guessing you only have like 8 gigs of RAM in it. Increasing that to 16 or 32, and you can get these, and they're not a sponsor, but even if you don't buy from them, Otherworld Computing, MacSales.com has some great resources for figuring out how much RAM you can put into a machine, what kind of hard drive that you can get for this machine, and their prices are competitive. And I've got a soft spot for the company. So if you're looking for things along those lines to update your current computer, MacSales.com is a great place to go. And yes, Lizzie, upgrading to a SSD and adding more RAM to this computer will extend its life. And a 2011 MacBook Pro will certainly run High Sierra, and it more than likely will run the next one coming after it, because the main difference between machines that can run High Sierra and the ones that can't is the difference between a 32-bit architecture and 64-bit architecture. So if your machine is currently running Sierra and not having a problem with it, you can run High Sierra. Don't worry about that. Now, the next one and the last thing for this week is from Marvin Price. And he shared a link and put in here, interesting. Yesterday we were discussing whether or not Apple would make ARM-based Macs. He feels that one of the reasons they would not is the growing success in the Mac, or of the Mac, in the enterprise market. This is in no small part due to the Mac's ability to run Windows-based enterprise apps when it has to and run them quickly and efficiently. The Mac has also become very popular in developer and security circles. With security, you have the ability to install a Windows VM and infect it with a known piece of malware and watch what happens. When done, you can just delete the virtual, I can't even think, I'm so tired. Needless to say, developers can test software in multiple environments, especially Mac and Windows simultaneously. Enterprise customers can run pesky apps like QuickBook Pro or medical billing apps or legal apps or any number of Windows only apps when they have to. I do not believe that Apple was expecting Mac sales to noticeably grow and get so much attention. I don't agree with that. I do not believe that they were ready for this at all. They concentrate so heavily on the iOS world. That's because that's where they make most of their money. It will be interesting to see how they respond to increasing demand for the Mac. Well, I think the way they'll respond is to make more Macs. Now, their strategy all along, and even in the article that Marvin shared, part of the reason why the Mac has suddenly become, hey, Cletus, how you doing? Part of the reason why the Mac has become so popular is because of iOS, because so many people prefer to have an iPad or prefer to have an iPhone. And with bring your own device rules set in many of these companies, well, that's what they want to bring in. And that's the foothold. That's the foothold in the door for people to then say, well, I'm pretty happy with this iPhone. I'm pretty happy with this iPad or whatever iOS device that I have. And I can use all the same programs that everybody else is using with my Mac. So let me have a Mac. IBM did a pilot program, and they brought in, I don't even know how many it was. It was like 10,000 Macs, something like that. And it was the oh my God, how did this ever happen moment. That it was something that people who have used Macs for a very long time already knew. And that is, if you don't factor in the initial cost of the computer, or if you just if that is taken into consideration in such a way that makes it go across the entire lifespan of that machine, that the total cost of ownership for having a Mac versus a less expensive out of the box PC is a wash. And in some cases, the Mac ends up being the less expensive option. They last longer. They, for the most part, just work. They run all the same programs that your Windows computer can run. It's a win-win. They don't have as many of the security concerns that a lot of Windows machines have. So why not? Platters are only good for archiving. I know I shouldn't be laughing at that right now, but it cracked me up when I read it. Yes, my shirt says Salt Life. Apparently, it's a restaurant and a few other things. I think I got this down in Daytona. But as far as the future of the Mac, excuse me, very sorry. As far as the future of the Mac goes, it would not surprise me to see the Mac go to ARM architecture. It's something. Oh my goodness gracious! Oh, sorry about that. So, well, yeah, why not? Why not go to ARM? The argument about having Macs that can run Windows software, the more Macs get into corporate environments, the less likely they have to run Windows software. Because as they become more popular, developers start making applications that will work either with the Mac and Windows, or just for the Mac, Or, I know, crazy talk, make it browser based so that it's platform independent. It doesn't matter if you have a Mac or if you have Windows or if you have Linux, or, the operating system becomes immaterial. It doesn't matter what operating system that you're running. And it just comes back down to personal preference. So, with that being said, sure, they could go ARM. And the other thing that you might want to consider is, putting aside the Mac for a minute, the future of Apple is still, and has been for a while, iOS. So the most popular platform that Apple has is iOS. And that was making crossroads into enterprise systems much sooner, or than this latest and greatest excitement over Macs in the workplace. So if you can get some of the same features that you have in Windows or the Mac, as far as manipulating your data and, having a desktop like environment, I think these are things that are coming. I think that with the pro machines and with how powerful Apple is making these ARM chips, that it's really just a matter of time. And as Apple increases the power of iOS devices, well, developers aren't just going to sit on their laurels. They're going to make more powerful programs. I mean, Macworld, I want to say 2011, I started not taking my Mac. I only took an iOS device. And even way back then, I was recording audio, I was editing video, I was doing, all of the stuff that I needed to do that I used to use a Mac for, but I was doing it with an iOS device. And that was with an iPad 3, which is like nothing compared to what the iPad Pros have, either the 10.5 or the 12.9 inch. So yeah, I think that Apple's future is in ARM. It is in RISC processing as compared to CISC processing. And whether the Mac will go along for that ride, I don't know. Maybe. But it may get to the point where it really doesn't matter. Okay. I think that's going to be about it for tonight. Thank you all. Thank you all so very, very much for joining me this evening. The 3 was a warm iPad. Yes, Cletus, it was a warm iPad. If you would like to get a hold of me, you can send me an email, guy@mttfgo.com. Probably the easier way would be to contact me on Twitter via MacParrot. You can contact me right here in the Mac to the Future page, where I spend a lot of time. And we have a Skype number. I swear to God, we have a Skype number that you can call, leave a message, and I'll play it right here on the show if I can figure out how to do that. And that number is 703-436-9501, 703-436-9501. So again, thank you all for joining me this evening. And it's weird, like when I talk about this stuff and then I can't find where I need to go. There we go. So I will see you guys next week. Maybe I'll I don't know if Larry will still be here at that point, my brother Larry. Maybe I can get him on also as well. And we will see you guys later. Bye.